Hello, Colt here again. I know that I've already shared my scan results, so there's no surprise there, but this was a more emotional day than I expected, to be quite honest. Whenever I have a scan, I usually get the results ahead of time, but I also have to meet with my oncologist. We go over, next steps. We talk about the results of the scan, and unsurprisingly, there was no real exciting new news. It was a little bit funny because I went into my appointment with a big smile on my face, sitting in the waiting room. I was the only one there, so I didn't feel like I was showing off or anything like that or making anybody feel bad. But then I got in back and I talked to my oncologist, Dr. Jha, and it was a short appointment. And he basically just told me that this whole thing was done. No more appointments, no more scans, no more tumor markers, no more blood tests aside from whatever my primary wants to do. But that was it. I was discharged from oncology permanently. And as much as we don't like to use the term cured, as much as can be said, I am as cured as you can be from gastric cancer. And it really hit me then when I heard those words, because when I was diagnosed over 5 years ago, I was intent on surviving this, but you always have that doubt, and you have that doubt throughout, and you get nervous every time one of these things happens, one of these scans happen. And I knew there weren't going to be any surprises, but just hearing that from him, that this was the end, was just a lot. It was a lot of emotion for me. I obviously thanked him. I probably shook his hand 3 or 4 times. And the last thing he said to me, aside from just saying, let me back up a second. We talked about how difficult chemo was for me, and I'll talk more about that in another video. He talked about how lucky I was that I was in such good shape when I first was diagnosed, and that really helped me get through the chemo. And then the last thing he said to me was, happy Thanksgiving, and I hope you have great holidays. And it really harkened back to something that he told me right after, well, not right after my surgery, a little while after my surgery, when we were discussing if I was going to do more chemo or not. And he reminded me of something that I told him when I was first diagnosed, and that I wanted the kitchen sink thrown at me, and I'd rather die from treatment or die from surgery than not do everything in our power and die from cancer. I didn't want to leave anything on the table. And after surgery, I was having a little bit of doubt about whether I would do more chemo, and I was kind of hoping that he would say, no, I think we're good, don't do any more chemo. But he reminded me then that I wanted to make sure that we did everything. And he said to me, Colt, your Thanksgiving and your holidays are not going to be very fun this year, but the hope is that you get a lot of happy ones from here on out. And it was just this connection to what he told me, because it was the same time of year. It was right before Thanksgiving, and I missed all the holidays that year as a result. And I shared with him the business card that I've carried around with me to all my appointments since the very beginning. And he just sat there and he held it in his hand and he looked at it. He said, I remember this. I was so very fortunate to have such a great team. I was so very fortunate to have such a great response to chemo and to be able to have a successful surgery with a fantastic surgeon who I was frankly just lucky to have. And I'm at peace with the fact that this is the end of surveillance. I'm not worried. I know some people get scared, but I'll listen to my body, and if anything pops up, I will make sure that I'm at my doctor and we're getting all of the tests and scans and scopes and whatever we need. But it was just a very emotional end to what's been nearly 5.5 years in total. And when I got back out into my car, I mean, I was teary-eyed in my appointments. I didn't exactly expect that to happen. I was teary-eyed walking out, and I just had to sit in my car for a while and cry a bit. It's not sadness. I'm certainly not sad this is over, but just the overwhelming relief that came with it. It was immense. So I don't really have a lot more to share about this. I've got more of my story that I want to tell, especially with regards to chemo and survivor's guilt, and I'm sure I'll think of a number of other topics as well. But I'm going to close with just a reel of some pictures of me as I went through this, and kind of where I started out from diagnosis all the way through where I'm at now. So thanks for watching, and cheers.